to the Popcorn Time Podcast. Starting out our first episode of the Popcorn Time Podcast. So it's going to be an hour-long podcast. Now I'm streaming a bit off schedule today. I haven't had the time to plan out the schedule for this podcast episode, but it's going to be every Friday. It's usually at 9 p.m. GST, but I'm still working on a suitable schedule, seeing, what tasks I have to do throughout the day so that I can really make sure of the best time to stream the podcast. Now, since this is the first episode, I'm gonna go through what we're gonna talk about and how the podcast is gonna be structured. And so we're gonna go briefly over what we're gonna talk about and say, and it's gonna be every week, as I said, an hour-long podcast. Now, unfortunately, there are no guests today, so I'm gonna have to do this on my own. Eventually, in the future, when I, find someone who's interested in the podcast, bring him in, invite them or her, we're gonna go in and talk. Yeah, it's gonna be all right. But for now, I'm gonna start alone. So this podcast will consist of 5 parts. So the first part is gonna be personal. I'm gonna be discussing my stuff about myself, how I'm doing, my thoughts, any random thoughts. Like it's a very casual talk. And throughout this personal period, I'll be looking at chat and I'll be answering questions and talking to people. So it's a very casual, you can even call it casual, it doesn't have to be called personal. And so it's 12 minutes. So each part, there are 5 parts, and we'll be doing the podcast for about an hour. So each part is roughly 12 minutes. Now, this doesn't have to be exactly 12 minutes. If I'm discussing something and I happen to really enjoy it, or I want to get deeper into it, I might even extend the time period. But on average, the podcast is going to be an hour. I think an hour is like a sweet spot for podcasts. So, yeah. It's a decent amount of time. You can say a lot in 1 hour. Now, of course, with guests, if guests show up eventually, I'll be making the podcast longer. Okay. Now, the second part. So, I have chosen 4 other topics. So I'm going to handpick 4 topics to talk about. Now, I can look at chat and choose a topic if I want to, but as I don't have any viewers yet, I'm going to be choosing my own topics to talk about. So the second topic we're going to be talking about is isolation, right? And how it can affect your health and how it can be detrimental, right? It's very detrimental. And types of isolation. So there can be good isolation. So we'll get into that shortly. Third thing we're going to be talking about is self-help. Is self-help a scam? Is the world of self-help, like the books, the industry behind it, is it a scam, or is it actually a legitimate way of succeeding in life? The fourth thing we're going to be doing, or talking about doing, we're going to be looking at contemporary. So what this means is that we're looking at news articles, headlines, and maybe discuss that. I feel that discussing the news once in a while and checking up on what's going on in the world is very important. And, plus discussing it in front of an audience, I feel like that's something I really want to get into. Now, fifth and final thing we're going to be discussing is philosophy. Now, I don't know, I'm not a philosopher, but I really love the subject of philosophy. Like, I'm interested in it. So we're going to be discussing today, I'm going to be talking about Stoicism and how, utilizing it can be incredibly useful for you as a person, especially for young, men like me. I feel like it has helped me a lot. So let's get into it, I guess. Yeah. So let's begin. Let me set a timer. Hold on. All right. So life recently has been quite weird recently. Like the past, 3 months, the quarantine period has been quite rough on me, I feel. Like it has been such a challenging, period of time for all of us, and I want to really talk about that. I want to talk about what mental changes I've been going through in this self-isolation period, in this entire thing. So during this entire period of time. So let's get into that. I feel like I have been it's like my mind, right? It's like my mind is playing a tug of war, right? Especially now I just finished. I technically finished school, so I'm graduating to go to college. But yeah, that was much worse before. But I'm telling you, I was feeling like a sort of tug of war going on in my mind. It was insane, dude. It was like one end was fighting for being lazy and doing nothing and succumbing to a nihilistic and hedonistic lifestyle, and the other was like more spiritual and more craving for success type of person. Right? There were two people playing tug of war in my mind, and this has been going on for a while. Now it has the intensity of it has decreased dramatically after exams and after getting used to this whole self-isolation thing. So at first it was like I had to sort of change my lifestyle, right? Because sometimes when I'd get bored, or just bored in general, or just tired or exhausted or unhappy, I'd go for a walk. Right? Now you can't really do that. Actually, you can. You technically can go outside, but it's not the same anymore. Right? You have to wear a mask, you have to wear gloves, and most people only go for necessities. They go out for groceries, to the pharmacy to buy their prescriptions, to the doctor, whatever, or for necessary work. I don't have any of that, and I don't think it's necessary anymore to go outside. And taking a walk, nobody's taking a walk. Like the things that are going on outside. There are no more events, no more activity. There's no more activity for me to actually enjoy taking a walk. Even like going out just to see the beach because the beach is nearby, right? Where I live in my town, there's a beach nearby, right? Next to my house. I just walk, like it takes maybe a 15-minute walk, and I'm next to the beach at the pier, right? Yeah, is that what you call it? Yeah. So once I go there, it's like, it used to be very like bright and had lights and restaurants and coffee shops. It's a different atmosphere now. It's empty, right? All the shops are closed. There's nothing to do, and I guess, but adapting to it, I guess, wasn't easy. I still haven't adapted. I'm feeling a bit, I don't know, dude. It's weird. Like, it's a weird feeling. You feel a bit hopeless, but at the same time, it's like, that's like you feel helpless, but it's sort of like, I'm helpless, but I can do whatever I want now. So it's like a weird, paradoxical sort of feeling going on in your mind. So yeah, that's that. I want to talk about. I have a nice one. I want to talk about my just me, like the ability for me to talk and communicate. It's gonna get very meta because I'm talking right now in a podcast, in a live podcast show. So I want to talk about sort of how, like, my inability to sort of communicate my thoughts effectively. Now, I know I'm talking right now for a few minutes. It has worked. But sometimes, right, I have all these thoughts going in my head, and I don't want to brag. I don't want to say like they're smart, but they're decent thoughts. Like, they're good ideas. They're not like, I'm not thinking about how to eat 5 potatoes using only your feet or something. No, that's not what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking like actually good ideas, but for some reason, I feel like I can't articulate these ideas well. I feel like I have the inability to really just think about them. I mean, I can think about them, but I can't say them out loud for some reason. And I've got pretty good English. It's not about language. Even like, sometimes I struggle. Like I feel brain dead sometimes, right? Do you get these moments? I don't know what's if it's like a sort of mental, thing going on. But I'm not very sure. Like sometimes, let's say I'm thinking about, okay, let me open Paint. Here it is. So I'm thinking about, let's say I'm thinking about something. Let's call this something A, right? And then A, I'm going to put a circle on that to represent it as a thought, right? A is a thought. A thought, not a thought. And A, right? So A is what I'm thinking about. And B, let's say B is what I'm supposed to say. So let me use red to signify that this is what I'm supposed to say. Right? If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see this. If you're listening to this on Spotify, I'm trying my best here to articulate it. And so I'm thinking about A, I want to say it in terms of B. B can be words, it's a language, anything, a phrase, a sentence. And sometimes I feel like there's a wall between A and B, right? I just feel like I'm unable to cross that barrier, the wall, and go into B and communicate, Right now, it's actually, ironically, I'm actually communicating. I think there's a lot of factors. I think it's, the time of the day has to do with that, my mood, really anything. So we have 5 minutes on the clock for personal. So yeah, I feel like my mood has a lot to do with what I'm going, my ability to communicate well. And I think it's just, I do sometimes feel like I'm lacking a bit on social skills, I guess, because when I talk with someone, it can be anyone, right? I feel like I care too much about their feelings. Like I care too much about the way the impact my thoughts expressed in words will have on their feelings. And I think that's it's detrimental. It's not good. It sort of restricts me from saying my thoughts out loud. And yeah, I'm trying to work on that, but I feel like it's something innate in me. I feel like it has become a part of me now. And it's so hard to get rid of. It's very hard. But I'm trying my best. What I'm trying to do right now is one of the reasons why I started this podcast show was so that I can sort of communicate. Because sometimes I find myself thinking way too much. I am an overthinker. A lot of people have told me, you overthink, dude. Arcadia, you overthink. And I agree with them. I tend to overthink a lot. And I think that this podcast is a good outlet to express my thoughts and feelings in a controlled manner so that I don't go nuts. I don't go sicko mode. I think, yeah, that's that. It's actually very cool. I didn't even think about, I thought about starting a podcast on a whim. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do a podcast. And here I am streaming live on Twitch on my first episode of Popcorn Time. The reason why I call it Popcorn Time actually is because why not? Right? I did not even. Okay, so let me tell you what happened. So when I was setting up, when I decided to do the podcast a week ago, I started setting it up, setting the camera, setting the scene and everything. And I did that eventually. I set it up. And then I was like, this is lacking something. It's lacking like a nice touch, like a finish. So I decided to just look up an image of anything, like popcorn. I just thought, what's the first thing that comes to mind when people think of, I want to make this a cozy atmosphere, like relaxed, sitting, eating. First thing that comes to mind is popcorn, because when you watch like a nice movie, you kick back, in your chair, and you watch and you eat popcorn, right? And it was like, wow, okay, I'm gonna put an image of popcorn, and I decided to put an image of popcorn. That's literally what happened. And then I was like, okay, so I'm using popcorn now. It's part of the scene, like the video. If you're watching this on Spotify, you can see the popcorn on the cover of the podcast. And I was like, yeah, so I'm gonna call it popcorn time, right? Because it's time for you to kick back and relax and just enjoy. This podcast, it's not supposed to be something like serious or anything. It's not like a sports, podcast. We're not talking about like numbers and stuff, dude. We're just chilling. We're talking. It's just about talking, dude. So I think that hold on, we have 40 minutes left, actually. So we have 2 minutes, 50 seconds left for personal. So I'm going to wrap it up and say that, quarantine, in conclusion, like quarantine is sort of, it's impacting a lot of us, and we have to adapt. It takes some time. Just persevere, go through that struggle, and don't falter to your thoughts, okay? And yeah, so let's move on. Let's move on to number 2, part 2 of the podcast. Isolation. So I felt like this is something important and imperative, especially during these times. Isolation, right? Is very relevant, dude. So listen, guys. Isolation has, before all the quarantine crap, isolation was and is pretty common, right? People who are depressed and lonely and all that, who have all sorts of, depression, they sort of tend to isolate. And personally, I went through isolation even before quarantine, but I want to focus on quarantine because right now isolation is something the vast majority of us, if you're watching this right now, you're probably at home self-isolating. The majority of us are in lockdown. We are in isolation. Right now. And you might think at first like, oh man, this is so epic. I'm going to play Fortnite. I'm going to watch all the Netflix shows. I'm going to do all of that. I'm going to eat the best food. I'm going to live the best life. No more work. No more school. And that's very good. Like that's a legitimate thought. It's actually like the fact that people are actually enjoying, like they're happy, like especially students and, people with just very difficult jobs. The reason why they're enjoying this is because their jobs and the career and everything is flawed. It's ruining us. It's not good for us, right? For individuals. But I want to focus on isolation. So right now you're in isolation, right? And it is actually detrimental to your health, physical and mental. And I must say I have sort of been victim to this slew of effects that isolation can cause. And right, I'm just learning that it is not something you can't, like people say that some people say, oh, I can just be a lone wolf, right? I don't need no friends. I don't need nothing. I can just stay at home. But trust me, dude, we humans are social animals, right? We are very social. We want to talk. We want to communicate, right? We want to be in groups. Even introverts, even shy people and introverts, like they want to. Introverts, first of all, introverts don't necessarily lack social skills. They just recharge. They hibernate, right? And so they talk with people for a while, and then they hibernate. So it's not bad. So look, people crave attention and social bonding, because as a species, it has helped us survive. It's an advantageous trait. That's what it is. That's in short. Like, I don't want to talk about the human mind and all of that right now. So, and when you suddenly take that away from people go nuts. They go nuts. Now, luckily, we in this day and age, we've got Zoom, things like Zoom and Google Hangouts, Skype, Discord, right? All sorts of VoIP applications that allow you to stay in touch with your friends and family. But this is not the same as person-to-person communication and just bonding, for many reasons, right? It's pretty obvious. They're not the same thing. So, isolation. It's not good for you. Why? Because, first of all, it destroys your mental health. It changes your outlook on so many things, right? And okay, so if you spend your time this time in isolation doing nothing, right? Not communicating with anyone, not doing any exercise, not doing anything at least productive. Like, you don't have to spend the entire day working. No, you at least have like a set schedule to do things, and then have some free time. So don't let this. Just create a new routine. Like, just because you're in a different sort of system, you're in a different reality, doesn't mean you have to just give up. You gotta adapt, right? So if you don't, what's gonna happen is that you're gonna become lazy, right? If you're already lonely and depressed, you're gonna become even more depressed. And just spending your time doing nothing, just watching, binging TV shows and playing video games all day long. You can play video games and stuff and all, but just don't do it all day long, dude. Because it's just gonna it's gonna make you feel, I don't know how to describe this. Like, I've been through this, right? It makes you feel empty. That's what it is. You feel like there's a void inside that's not being fulfilled. That's what I think happens. Now, there's another type of isolation, which is actually good, and it's a sort of a controlled isolation. It's one that you see in monasteries, with monks. Monks, they tend to isolate a lot. But you can still see that they do have group. So it's a different sort of group. But when monks isolate, they do isolate, yes, and so when monks isolate, so let me make a comparison. Let's go to paint. Okay, let's go to paint and so when monks go into isolation, let's do a okay, hold on. Whoa. Let's do a Venn diagram. Okay. I don't want to, so for those who are listening, I'm just going to say it out loud so you don't worry. Okay, so there are two types of isolation lifestyles. I got 4 minutes. I'll be able to finish. So we got monks, M, and I'm going to represent that as M, and we've got normal people, N. Now, in common, what they both have in common is that they isolate. They isolate. Obviously, uh, they isolate. Okay, isolate. Both groups tend to spend their time isolating. And like, yeah, that's like no shit, Sherlock. Yeah, no. But listen, with monks, the lifestyle they pursue is focused on the spiritual aspect of things, whereas normal people are focused on the materialistic and, hedonistic sort of things, such as eating junk food all the time. Yeah, when you go into isolation, your addiction, like you become your person, and a lot of people, your personality sort of shifts to that of a more, your personality becomes, you just become a more all-around addictive person. You're more suspect to addiction, and you because you're lacking the dopamine that's released when you bond and socialize with people, you look for other sources of dopamine, such as eating junk food, binging shows, even watching NSFW stuff and pleasing yourself way too much, right? Things like that. So, whereas monks, of course, monks, as we know, they try to avoid all this stuff, materialistic stuff. And I think it's too extreme for me, but I'm just like making a comparison right now. You can strike a balance between those two. Like after I finish comparing, okay, so I have a few minutes left. I'm going to extend it a bit. So when you're, okay, so you can like be both. Like you can enjoy, the things around you. You can play video games. You can do that, but you got to be more spiritual, right? Okay, so monks. Now, second point is that monks sort of socialize with other monks occasionally, whereas normal people socialize little or not at all, right? During isolation. So monks, they do socialize. So I think some monasteries, like, and in Eastern traditions, and even like in churches and whatnot, sort of like, okay, so the monks, they tend to there's like a rule they have. I think sometimes they don't talk to each other, right? They're still bonding, so they do like shared activities together, and that's a form of bonding. So now if I bring my friend here, which I can't, but imagine if I'm able to bring my friend, and instead of talking to him, I decided to play the guitar with him without saying a single word, mind you. That would still be bonding, although it is a restricted form of socializing, because talking is a very effective way of conveying your thoughts and words and connecting with people. But there are any activity can form a connection. Monks do that very well. Oh shit. Screw that. This is very important. I really want to discuss this. So, monks, okay, where were we? Right. So I think that in some places, like monks do talk to each other, but it's very limited. Whereas normal people, on the other hand, we got normal people, right? They do not socialize. Like most people are rarely socializing, or not, or socialize just a little bit, like on Zoom, on Microsoft Teams, Skype, whatever. But it's a limited type of socializing. So when it comes to talking with other people, there's really nothing you can do right now, but like you can't really bond as you could before. So I'm not gonna blame anyone. I'm not blaming anyone for anything. Like I just want to like help you guys see how isolation without it can be bad for you and what you can do about it. So what you can do is just make use of that VoIP, video calls, voice calls as much as possible. You want like an efficient system. And what I advise actually is do an activity while talking to these people. It's going to strengthen the bonds, the social bonds that you make with them. It's going to allow you to, even through video, virtually, you're still doing activities. And remember, activities are a form of social bonding. So you're sort of coupling two social stimulants together to form the equivalent of normal socializing using just body language and communicating, right? So I think that's really all for like isolation. So you can just watch out for these things, and it's very sneaky. I just want to say, like, it's very sneaky. So isolation can be like, you won't know that you're deteriorating until it's almost too late. So I'm just putting this out there for those who like. Now we are done with the second part of the podcast. Now we move on to part 3. Self-help. Is self-help a scam? Yeah. I watched a video yesterday. It was made by, I forgot who. Hold on. I'll link it down somewhere on the YouTube video or the Spotify. No, I can't do it on Spotify, can I? No. So anyway, I think if you look up it's the toxic world of self-improvement, something like that, you'll find it. Usually it's the first or second result. Anyway, the idea was, you see, so let me preface this by talking a little bit about my relationship with self-improvement. So it all started with, I think, I started looking up self-improvement. I got interested in it like a year ago, I think, around that time. I was I had nothing to do. I was doing YouTube, but I still felt like I wasn't succeeding. I don't know why. Like, a lot of people tell me, you're young, dude, just enjoy it. And I get it. I do. But I feel like that was before. I felt like I wasn't doing anything productive. I wasn't forwarding, advancing. So I stumbled upon this idea of improving yourself in all aspects of life. So it started with, things like, people like Tony Robbins and Gary Vee and all these popular, people, and these YouTube channels that say, do this to be successful, do that, and then by the end of the video they plug their book, right? They plug their top 10 self-improvement secrets, the secret, the law of attraction, all that crap. At first, I was skeptical of it. But I was like, why not, right? Why not read? Why not see what it has to offer? And so I bought this book. I think it's the most overrated book ever, self-help book ever. It's The Art of Not Giving an F. Now, I can't say the F word here because I'm going to upload this to YouTube and, it's going to get demonetized. So, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. Yeah. By Mark Manson. Yeah, Mark Manson. You see this book everywhere, dude. Whenever you go to the library, it's right there. It's plastered in front of your face all the damn time. And yeah, so I read the book, and it just it was so overrated. I felt like the advice, it was just too vague. And it was very obvious. You don't need to read this. You know it. It's don't give a fuck. Oh shit, I said it. Don't give an F. Oh yeah, I'm not monetized yet, so I think it's fine. Anyway. Yeah, so I read the book, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest. One thing that really helped me was the thing about not prioritizing your F's. You only got a limited amount of craps to give, so just use it for certain stuff, like family, friends. But that was good. But I felt first of all, dude, the author, he sweared a lot in the book. He said the F word I don't know how many times. It's not cool, dude. It's not hip to just spam it, right? It's not, dude. And so when I read the book, I was like, okay, this doesn't feel enough. So I started looking for more. And I'm going to be honest, some stuff, of self-improvement, really helped me. Really acted as a catalyst for me to start doing things that I really want to do instead of being lazy. Taught me, for example, I learned about the flow state. I learned about cutting off all distractions, putting away your phone, and just focusing on the task at hand, doing one thing at a time and focusing. And things how multitasking is bad. Those are good things. But I feel I started noticing a pattern. These self-improvement gurus, they're not where they are because they listen to their own advice. No, they're where they are because they are selling their books. They're selling advice, right? They're selling. I'm not gonna discredit. Dude, some of the gurus are actually really helpful, but I feel like I'm not gonna discredit all self-improvement and all the mentors and all the crap that goes on over there. But I feel it's based on the industry. It's based on it's not based on guarantees, right? It's based on selling what they think is advice. It's based on very personal things. Based on it's primarily based on selling a product. They're not giving you advice, they're selling you a product. And the product, I don't know there's no product. It's just words, dude. It's not exactly good advice. You might find one or two hidden gems in the book, but it's not legit. It's very personal. For example, I know certain gurus they just spam things work hard, work hard, work hard, never party, don't do that, don't do this. And eventually, when you read oh my god, I have to say this. So when you read those books and you consume the media stuff, self-improvement content, you feel like you've achieved something. You delude yourself into believing that, oh, I'm succeeding, but you're in the same position. You're in the same position as you were before you started, unless you did something, unless you learned some new productivity tips. All right, and I feel this mentality around just working hard nonstop, not doing anything, it doesn't work. It only just propagates this the mentality we have of just work, right? Work Listen, dude, if I'm gonna say my advice, I don't know who I am to give advice. Like, I'm just a 17-year-old teenager, but I'm just saying, I'm just talking, dude. This is a chill podcast. So I feel like what we should do is we should work to live rather than live to work. Right? It's very important. It's a subtle difference, but it's a very important one nonetheless. What this means is that you're an entity, right? You have a job, and let's say you want to promote yourself, climb, get a raise. So what you do is you work, right? So why do you want to get that raise? The important question to ask yourself is, why do you want to get that raise? Why do you want to do well? So if you want to do it because I just want to work, I just want to succeed, then don't do it. If you want to do it because you want more money so that you can spend it on whatever makes you happy or just feel more comfortable, go ahead. But if you just want to do it for the sake of doing it, if you want to do it just to look cool and, you want to be like important, don't. Nobody's going to remember all the files you did in work. Nobody's going to remember all the bullshit things you typed into your computer. What they're going to remember is you as a person, your personality, the things you've given to people, the love, the appreciation, the kindness, the happy moments, the fun, the banter, everything. So don't live to work. Work to live. That's very important. All right, let's move on to number 4, part 4 of the podcast. Contemporary / news. So, time to look at some news articles, dude. Let's go. We're gonna look at 2 or 3. Okay. Oh, okay. So long standardized testing. University of California regents unanimously vote to drop. Okay, hold on. University of California regents unanimously vote to drop SAT and ACT admissions requirements. Okay. Wow, dude. Wow. No way. This is actually very good. Wow. One of the largest and most made a landmark decision on Thursday. Okay, so, wow. Okay, so I'm going to skim through this real quick. I don't want to waste a lot of time because especially if you're listening to this on Spotify, you're not going to be seeing any of this. Okay. Wow. So the SAT and ACT will be dropped completely. I'm sorry for I switched to the other scene by accident. So they're going to be implementing a no SAT, no standardized test requirement. That's actually really cool. Because I feel like it's bullshit, right? Like, somebody can be really smart and not do well on the SAT just because of certain circumstances, or just they're not good at testing. They might be good at school, they might be good at other stuff. But they said that in California, it's in California, by the way. So I think that other universities are going to follow, I feel, because the UCs in California especially, like, they're important, right? Like, nobody's going to overlook what they're doing. People are going to start considering this. And I think that this is like the incentive, I think, was the coronavirus. I feel it sort of showed them how useless those exams are, right? Because people, like, it showed, like, people during the coronavirus, the students who did not get to do the SATs, they did just as well as those who did. It's a very bullshit metric, right? It doesn't determine anything, and doesn't determine intelligence. It just shows how good you are at taking that particular test, right? There are so many other things you can do in school, right? Instead of focusing on that test. Now, okay, it's no longer a big deal for me because I'm graduating. I just finished school. But for those who are still in school, this is great. So, oh, okay. Okay, never mind. So the UCs are going to be creating their own tests, their own standardized test. Wow, we just got debated. Again, not a good idea. It's gonna be, oh my god, this is gonna be terrible. If other schools, start implementing this, start doing their own tests, it's gonna be even worse. My god, dude. Never mind. And they're saying like they're canceling it because of race and socioeconomic status, which are all valid reasons. They are, but really, like they want to make their own tests because they're biased against minority students and low-income students in favor of wealthier students. It's true, but I don't see how it impacts minority students. Like, I don't think that an SAT, like a black kid from the same neighborhood as a white kid, I don't think they're gonna necessarily do worse or better, like just solely based on their race. I don't think that's how it works. It's just that's just pandering, dude. I'm gonna be real honest with you. But so what they're saying is okay, low income students, wealthy students, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Do you know why? Because there are so many set prep courses, and generally speaking, the more expensive you pay for a course, the more you're getting. The bigger the plate of readiness for this exam. So that's a valid point, I guess. But they're making their own exams, so it's like you're just adding insult to injury, dude. Because now, let's say I'm applying to UCs, I'm applying to Harvard, applying to some other colleges. I'm gonna have to do an exam for each university. It's gonna be worse. I just hope they make it like so that you don't really have to study for this. Now, the College Board does claim that you don't have to study for the SATs. It's an aptitude test, but though actually so many people who study, like, so if you do it once and you do poorly on the exam, you can actually repeat it, and if you study well, most people do better, like their score increases. So I don't think it's a matter of aptitude as much as it is about preparing for this specific exam, a specific set of questions. I don't think so. Yeah. All right. I guess that's it for SATs. Okay, let's. What's going on? Trump goes without mask in Michigan Ford plant despite company press. Yeah, dude. It's not very surprising. Like, dude, if he gets the coronavirus, he's got like so much money. He can just literally he can self-revive himself. It's like Warzone, right? He can literally self-revive himself. Okay. CDC estimates that 35% of coronavirus patients don't have symptoms. Oh yeah, but let's look at the coronavirus map. So let's see how many cases there are, dude. There are about 333,000 deaths. Wow. And 5 million confirmed cases, so 300, so the total active cases would be 2 million, okay, so 2 million, so it would be like around maybe 2,800,900-ish, something like that.
When
I'm
you get a
guessing.
disease like measles or chickenpox, you develop.
Yeah. So, okay. Okay. So where I'm in the United Arab Emirates. 237 deaths and 27,000 confirmed cases. Wow. Dude, I remember where is it? It's lagging. This map, by the way, I've been monitoring monitor, monitor, monitoring this website since January. And I remember like when it first came out, it was not laggy. It was actually pretty fast. But now because of the total amount of cases and the amount of blips, it's laggy. It's pretty choppy. Yeah. Okay, so I remember when I was like, there are only gonna be like what 10,000 deaths max, dude, max. And now look at this. I thought it was gonna be over by maybe June. That's how Pepe guy was. Okay, so in new guidance for mathematical, a third of coronavirus infections are asymptomatic. Wait a minute. Hold on. What do they mean by this? Like 35% of coronavirus patients don't have symptoms. What do you mean? Like as of now, like in this moment, because there's a 14-day incubation period, right? So there's a 14-day incubation period where you don't have display any symptoms of the virus. So no fever, nothing related to the virus. No coughing, nothing. Then after that, you start showing symptoms. So I think they mean that currently a third of corona patients do not show symptoms, so we cannot really track them right now. But after 14 days, they're going to be part of the people who do display symptoms. And then it's going to like restart, right? 35%, 30. It's always around like 30. I guess that's what they're saying. Best says 0.4% of people who show symptoms and have COVID will die. The agency estimates that 40% of is occurring before. Yeah. People overall. Yeah, see, like, I feel like there's a lot of manipulation of data and misrepresenting statistics in order to induce feelings of fear and paranoia into people. Like, that's what the media is doing right now. And I feel like it's bullshit, right? It's not like, it's something to watch out for, yes, the coronavirus, but I feel like it's not something that's like, it's not as deadly as, say, the Black Plague. Given the, Black Plague in the Middle Ages, when there was no, medicine was practically didn't exist, right? Whereas now, like, the coronavirus is not very deadly. It's only affecting severely ill people, like people who already have problems, respiratory problems, etc. But as long as you watch out, just use common sense. Like, don't fucking, you can't, look, people who are going outside right now and just for the sake of going outside, that's not smart. I'm not going to say it's wrong, or because we really don't know. Like, there's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of manipulation, so it's hard to know how severe this is. But going out once in a while, sure. Going out and engaging in activities that really spread the virus, that's not good. That's not. All right, I think this wraps it up for contemporary. We are going to move on to the final part 5 of the podcast. We're going to be talking about philosophy. So I'm going to wrap it up. It's almost been an hour. I'm not going to talk a lot about Stoicism. Yeah, so we're going to talk about Stoicism, but I'm going to keep it brief and simple. Uh, wow, it's been an hour already. Nice. So during these times, so this goes back to my self-improvement phase, ego Andy phase. So I was going through this phase where I wanted to self-improve, right? And as I said, found out it was not really, it was a scam. But what I learned from it is that there is some good advice. I learned some good things, and I sort of like now I'm not always looking to improve from the external world. Rather, I'm just trying to improve for the sake of growing, not for the sake of succeeding. I mean, I want to succeed, but focusing on that way too hard is not good, because when you focus on it, on just succeeding, you're not going to be pushing out good quality content or good quality work. Your productivity is going to fall, because whenever you do one thing and then you feel like you achieved something, and because according to self-improvement, anything is to self-help, the books, what they preach is that as long just doing something, if you do something, you've succeeded. And that's like sort of mental, what I like to call mental masturbation, right? It's, you're not really doing anything. Like if I work now for 2 hours, the results aren't going to show up immediately. I'm going to have to wait a while. And this culture of instant gratification is sort of making it seem like waiting to win is a bad thing. It's not. Like, just wait and be patient, right? I feel like that's changing, though. I really do feel like now there's good vibes only, hard work all day, don't party, don't have fun, never do anything except work mentality. I think that's fading away slowly, and I think that, maybe self-improvement will change. Anyway, one of the things I learned from self-improvement is Stoicism. That's a good thing, which really got me, into the idea. Like, it's one of the only things if not the only thing I study in philosophy so far. I really want to get into that. I like philosophy. Philosophy is a good idea. It's a good school of thought. Like, it's a good way of seeing life, right? It's very abstract. It attempts to explain what is not seen. It's like science. Science, you explain atoms. You can't really see atoms. In philosophy, you're explaining just intangible things, ideas, concepts. Math does that, sure, but philosophy is like a different way of expressing that. Anyway, Stoicism, essentially what it is it's a very simple idea. It's like, so you have like let's say your house is on fire, right? What you should do, most people, they'd go crazy, and people who, it's natural to go crazy. I'm giving you a very extreme example. Like, if your house is on fire, what essentially, like, people panic and they don't know what to do and stuff. Essentially, what Stoicism tells you to do is don't panic, right? Just don't panic, dude. Forehead. No, seriously, it tells you, the idea is that you should not panic. You should not let the external world impact your feelings, but you should take action. So what this means is that your house is on fire. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? You're going to put out the fire, right? It's common sense. Very simple and extreme example, but I'm telling you, it applies to so many things. So essentially, right, you shouldn't let this external world heavily impact your emotions and feelings and thoughts. And if it does, you got to set up another barrier of just not letting your emotions get to you, or leaving some time from the day to let those emotions out. I'm not saying, no, it's not. A lot of people might say, oh, isn't this just bottling your emotions? Isn't this toxic behavior? And then I might agree with you, because Bottling in your emotions is not good. So what I think you should do alongside Stoicism is you should sort of be able to express your emotions, right? But not letting the emotions impact your actions. So when you're sad, right, you can say I'm sad. Acknowledging that you're sad is something important. I'm sad. Like, I am sad. I am not happy. This is very healthy and it's good to do. But what you shouldn't do is just cry and whine and complain and let the sadness get to you. Because eventually, the sadness no longer becomes an emotion. It becomes you. It becomes a part of you. And that's not, of course, that's not good. So the idea here is that if you have an emotion, it's just dealing with emotions. First step is to acknowledge the emotion. I am sad right now, right? I'm not feeling particularly happy. I'm not satisfied. That's okay. That's okay. But I'm not going to let this anger or sadness or anything impact my action. Now, obviously, it takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of trial and error to really get the hang of it. But I'm still learning. Like, I'm still learning. Like, it's a very new thing for me, because I get angry pretty easily as a person. But if you compare me now to the me from a year ago or 2 years ago, I am less angry than I am before. And I think one thing about me is that I used to not be able to handle criticism well. I used to not take jokes. But now, like, after learning about Stoicism, I love jokes. Like, I love when people just make fun of me. I love when people hate on me. It's just funny. See, another way to do it is to turn it around. Like, you can laugh at it, right? Someone's calling you, a racist slur, or somebody is calling you, I don't know, anything. Somebody just hating. Just laugh at them, dude. It's funny. Like, it's funny. They're not gonna do anything to you, right? It's funny, dude. Even if all of your viewers are hating on you, it's still funny. Like, it's not like you're still watching me, dude. That's funny, right? I think this wraps it up for today's stream. You can call it a wrap. Wow, I actually enjoyed this, dude. We're gonna be doing this weekly, once a week. Now, I stream on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, TTF, 9 p.m. GST. And this podcast, I stream it once a week, every Friday. So, every Friday, I'm going to be going on and talking. I stream, now, other than the podcast, I'll be streaming video games, normal stuff, React, Andy, gaming streams, basically. Any games, mostly. I'm still not sure on what game to settle on, but yeah. So twitch.tv/ArcadiaRift is where you'll find all the streams and the podcast. And please feel free to, once you join the podcast on the Twitch stream, please feel free to chat, because I want to make this an interactive experience. So as I said, I dedicated an entire part of the podcast just for communication and questions. So this is an interactive podcast. All right. So I guess that's it. That's a wrap. I really do hope you enjoyed this podcast. And I had a lot of, it was such a chill time, I feel. I'm still getting used to it, but I think it went pretty well. So if you're watching this on YouTube, listening to it on Spotify, anything, please feel free to leave feedback, right? And share it to your friends so that they can join in and be a part of the family, as you can see on the screen or here on Spotify. All right, this has been Arcadia Rift, and I will see you later. I will talk to you later.